Well, I think the fact that I created something and uh, had an enormous influence is indisputable. What it is called is very interesting. Um, how much can words really describe? I have my own definition of minimalism, which is that which is created with a minimum of means. Now, I think that there was a great deal of precedent for minimalism before me. There was haiku. There were these paintings of Mount Hokusai, ancient Chinese calligraphy, Zen calligraphy. Some parts of Webern were very minimalist. In fact, the productiveness of Webern and the bagatelles and the very short little pieces, there's something very minimalist about that. Can minimalists describe everything I did? Can it describe some important aspects of what I did? I think so. People search for tags, for a means of description. Can music ever be described in words? It's an interesting question. As Dan Wolfe wrote in the introduction to the Wealthy Piano booklet, the Wealthy Piano is really a maximalist work. We strive to describe music and our musical experiences and musical trends and musical genres. I'm okay with being called a minimalist to some degree. I realize that it's only one aspect of my work. Certainly, within the Wealthy Piano, it's extremely maximalist. There are elements that we associate with minimalism. I think that eventually people will understand that my entire contribution was much more vast. That there is that, I was an influence on concept art, I was an influence on sculpture. I did a number of things that grew out of my understanding of history, of music history, of the history of the world. And yet, in their first appearance, they sometimes seem radical and like they were totally new. When we study history, we find out where we've been, and it puts us in a position where we have perspective and allows us to maybe do something. But at least we can then take all of that into consideration and let it feed our creative process so that what comes out of it takes into consideration what has been done up until this time. Sometimes somebody who has only read one book, they say Square Man has only read one book, or there used to be composers that you would meet in college who were these wild young guys, and they could sing the piano and do all kinds of things, and it was really something to hear them, and it was the only thing they could do actually, because they didn't know any other history, and they didn't have enough training, and they didn't have enough tradition, so that on the one hand, they had enormous potential, but on the other hand, if they had had also enormous training, they would have been then able to take that creative impulse and really go beyond, because John Cage once said, artists are like bearing gifts, they're like special emissaries bearing gifts for people, and we have an enormous responsibility to leave something important. It has to be something that is for the good of the people, and you don't do that by giving the people what they want. You do it by giving the people this higher source of information that the computer is actually make manifest in some physical model that actually moves them deeply and into the state where they want to have this experience and go higher into this exalted state.